Oh, sorry. I didn't know we were recording this whole time.
We have just good footage for when I need to blackmail you.
Oh, gracious.
Okay. Welcome to Meanwhile at the Castle podcast. It is episode 29. We're almost to 30. And today is Valentine's Day. Ah!
Yay!
Okay. Wow, we're already on one today.
Valentine's Day. Okay, we'll talk about that.
I am Queen Deborah.
I'm Queen Emily. Hi.
She remembered her name today, so
Yay.
we're off to a good start.
Yes, so much better than last week.
We are a knitting podcast. Oh, first of all, Emily and I are sisters.
Yes.
And this is a knitting podcast. Primarily, but we have some other things that we share from time to time.
Yes.
We are located in Salt Lake City, Utah. Actually, if we're going to be technical, I am in the slums. I live in Kearns. And
I live like 2 miles, maybe 1.5 away.
But you're way a notch up.
So I'm way out of the slums.
They live in the slums. Not really, but that's what people think. I've had people ask if I'm afraid to open my front door because where I live. I'm like,
only occasionally.
Well, actually, I've had a couple of times.
I know, that's why I said
I could tell some good stories. Okay, anyways, I digress. This is a knitting podcast. Meanwhile at the Castle.
Yep.
You can find us on Ravelry under the groups tab, meanwhileatthecastle.com, and not .com. That's Meanwhile at the Castle and Ravelry. We also have a website, meanwhileatthecastle.com, where we post our complete show notes with links.
Yes.
Down below you can find show notes without links other than links to our website.
Yep.
We have several things today happening in our podcast so that you know what to expect. We will show finished objects, works in progress. We'll have some cross-stitching because that's just what I've been doing. And we have a special segment on sock heels.
Yep. And
we have an announcement for a knit-along that we're going to be doing for those of you who have been really interested in a first-time sock knit-along. So we'll tell you more about that.
plus there'll be some shop news at the end.
And shop news. So,
Yep.
I forgot.
What'd you forget?
Forgot the date of when we're starting that. So we're going to have to pause. Hold up. Okay, we got it together. Kind of.
Mostly.
Okay. We never have it all together.
Okay,
and we were talking about
our first time sock
so
knit
we know
along.
where we're going to do that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But first things first, what's up?
Well, I actually haven't told you this.
I know you
right
told me,
before
I don't
I
know.
left to come over here, I went out to my garage, which is where my dye studio is, which is actually a really nice workspace that my husband created for me.
It is nice.
For me, so I could grab something to bring today, and found water dripping from the ceiling. The upstairs bathroom is apparently leaking into my garage.
No.
Yeah, it's looking like we're gonna have to tear out a section of the ceiling and
You get to have
tear
all
out
the
the
fun.
bathroom.
No.
We've known we needed to do it for a while, but we didn't know it was this bad. So, I mean, we didn't know that it was this issue that would be the final straw. So, yeah, that's kind of crazy. But in good news, I am going to be taking a delivery of Yarnbrary Yarns for the first time to a local knitting store here,
that's
local
fun.
yarn store. So Knit and Pretty in West Jordan, Utah is going to be carrying Yarnbrary Yarns. So that's pretty awesome.
If you haven't been to Knit and Pretty, go.
So fun.
Lauren, she is so sweet.
Yeah.
She remembers everybody's name. I think I've told you that before. That
Super cozy space
Yeah.
to knit in. You know,
she
just
remembers
really
what
inviting.
you're working on. She just remembers everything about you. They're just so lovely there.
Yeah,
So
it's really great.
Go. And they've got gorgeous yarn.
Yes, absolutely. So that's good news.
That's good news. The good news with the bathroom. That just sounds like when your oldest son was young, and you constantly had something like that going because he took like the
was so
hose from
destructive.
outside, and he found the vent for your dryer where it vents outside the house, and he put the hose. And
Both
turned
my
it on.
boys have done that. Yeah, Isaac did that too. But Ethan did it with the dryer running, and it, of course, completely destroyed the dryer because of the weight of the water coming in. But Isaac just flooded the bathroom.
And then Ethan with the eggs. We have to just tell that one. Come on, just tell that one.
Oh, gracious. Like, when I was down, this was years ago. Ethan is now almost 22, and he was like 5. No, he was younger. He was probably 4 at the time. But he was, I thought, down for a nap, and I was down in my sewing room, which was in the basement of our old house, and I come out of my sewing room, and I see something running down the walls. Yeah, so he had mixed eggs and, like, Kool-Aid, orange juice, dish soap, just anything he could find. He had mixed it all together, poured it on the kitchen floor, which it ran underneath the refrigerator, and somehow down in the cracks into the basement.
But wasn't he dancing in it?
Oh, that was the milk on the carpet that he was dancing in. Yeah.
There's so many stories.
So many good stories.
But when you said that it was dripping water,
well, my son Isaac did take a 3-hour bath. 3 hours! I didn't even know he was in there. He told me he was going to take a bath. And he went, and I thought he just had done it and then gone down to his room. And then I realized he was still in there. He was just enjoying himself. Anyway.
Yeah, you just would call me regularly and like, Deborah, and tell me another thing like that had happened. And it's been a miracle long time.
I survived Ethan, honestly.
And he's just such a
he's
angel
such
child.
a great kid.
Child, he's not a child anymore.
Yeah, man. Okay. He's wonderful now. He grew out of it. Thank heavens.
There's hope for all of us. Someday when I grow out of it, I hope to be like
Well, I don't know. So yeah, I'm reeling from that disaster that I get to deal with when I get home.
Fun times. Well, I'm knitting. This is
wonderful
day.
News.
Yes, I have not been able to knit really almost since Christmas. I mean, I would knit a little bit, and then I'm like, no, I need to stop. And then I'd try again. I'm like, no, I need a longer break. And I was realizing I had only finished one pair of socks that I had almost done before Christmas. That's all I had finished since Christmas, and it was making me very sad. So, because I have had arthritis and carpal tunnel, and then I was dealing with knitter's elbow, and while I was trying to handle that, I re-injured my shoulder. That I had torn my rotator cuff years ago, and it's really easy to re-injure, and so I did that. Well, that was healing, and then I injured this rotator cuff a week and a half ago when we were redoing my daughter's bedroom and we were moving furniture, and I couldn't even brush my hair. I had my girls helping me with that, and my husband helping me get dressed, and so I couldn't do any sewing, I couldn't do any knitting. So that was really hard. Well, I have a friend she's a massage therapist, and she specializes in something called orthobionomy, and my daughter is actually starting training on that. She's going to another conference and training this next week. When we get back from our trip at Stitches West, I will just miss her. She will be going as I'm coming home. And that I can't even explain exactly what it is. It's not necessarily a massage where they work the muscles. It's more dealing with the bone structure and where everything lays. But after I had 2 of her sessions with that, okay, this is a big deal. You guys are not going to really fully grasp how big of a deal it is for me. But first of all, I can do a thumbs up. Okay, before my hand would be like this. That was what I could do. But I can close my fist and raise my thumb. That's a huge deal. Huge deal. My hand lays flat. It typically is shaped like this. And while she was working on my hair, she's like, "Are you missing a bone?" And she was trying to find it. It was like tucked underneath another one, out of place. And I have motion in these joints where I didn't have any motion. It was completely like firm. It didn't move. So I can open my hand all the way. It's usually like this, and I could force it all the way open. But look, it flexes back like real people.
Like real people.
And look, I can even do this. That's a big deal. Okay.
That's a huge deal.
It's amazing. So my hands don't hurt. Just my elbow and my shoulders. But my hands don't hurt. So life is fantastic. It's like a new lease on life. I'm going to go see her again in a week. I'm really excited. So that's a really big deal for me. I'm just really excited. On the way home from my second appointment, I was seriously in the car just like, thank you, Lord. My hands are like working. They're functioning.
That's such good news.
So I can use my hands, but I have to still be careful with my elbow and my shoulders while they recover. So
yeah, it's important not to then turn around and overdo it and make everything else worse.
Yeah, so I'm trying to be careful. I'm trying to be careful because I still deal with carpal tunnel. You know, it's the arthritis that I'm not having pain with, but I still am having some issues with carpal tunnel. But anyways, that's my exciting news there.
That is exciting.
So, and I had one more exciting news. My oldest daughter started a YouTube channel.
Oh, that's right.
If you have been following our journey to help my daughter with her skin and her depression and several other issues, she has been really struggling with her diet that she needs to eat. And so she decided to start a YouTube channel because that would give her some support and also help support other people who might be dealing with some of the same things. So it is just called Claire Naya on YouTube, and we'll put a link to that in our show notes, and you can watch that. She just has an introduction in there, but she's my oldest daughter, and I'm just proud of her for being brave and putting herself out there. So if you struggle with depression and difficult diets and want some support or want to help support, you can go and watch that.
That's awesome.
All right, should we start?
And we are so excited because next week we get to go to Stitches West. And this is our first time, like, other than the Great Basin Fiber Arts Festival, which is pretty small here in Utah. This will be our
Still
first.
Managed to buy enough to stock me for a year.
But this will be our first time, going to a big festival, and we're super excited about it, and it's going to be awesome. We know that Tristan and Christy from the Girls in the Yarn Cafe podcast are going. In fact, we found out we're on the same flight.
Yeah.
Heading out. So that's kind of fun. And we're just going to go and have a blast. It will be awesome.
It will be fun. So if you're there, you can come say hi. We have something special
to
share with
In fact, let's
friends.
tell them about that.
Okay.
We don't have an actual example to show you, but we are going to have Meanwhile at the Castle buttons. And we're going to bring them with us. And if you want one, you can just come up and introduce yourselves. If you see us, come up and find us and we'll give you a button. It's a good way to have something to break the ice. So if you're like, well, I see them, but I don't know if I want to say hi, or, because when we feel the same way, we do the same thing where we're like, I don't know, I want to talk to them, but what do I say? I don't know. So,
well, that's just fun to have something to share with friends.
Yes,
so I like that we can have things to share with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. So come and find us, and we would love to give you a button and to see you and to meet you, and it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we've got our new logo on it.
Yes, which we'll be updating. I think you already updated it here on YouTube, didn't you?
Yeah, but it's always hard to see on YouTube unless you watch it on like your full screen on TV. Otherwise, on your computer, on your phone, it always crops
smushed. Yeah.
Funny, so you don't really get to see them very well anyways, but
anyway, that'll be really fun. So
okay, well, do you have finished objects to show? Look at that.
I finished my fancy Cardi. Yes, I know. I'm so happy. I am so thrilled with it. I love it so much. We'll try and do some photos, hopefully.
Yeah.
Will you help me do some photos?
I will help you do some photos.
We'll try and do some photos, but it just turned out just beautiful, and I love this color. I always loved it the whole time, but it's just wonderful. So this is by Joji Locatelli. It's called the Fancy Cardi, and I knit it in Malabrigo sock in the Light of Love colorway, and I just absolutely adore it. I alternated skeins through pretty much the entire thing. There's a couple places on the sleeves where I didn't, and you can definitely see some pooling if you look for it, but nothing that is any problem.
Really look for it.
It doesn't bother me. Like, I could see it when it was laying out blocking. Like, you can see right here. Barely, but I mean, and nothing that bothers me in any way. I just think it turned out amazing. And it's kind of funny because as I was knitting it, now I deliberately made it so it had kind of a 3/4 length sleeve because I just don't need to the wrist. That's just, ugh.
Makes you feel claustrophobic.
Yes, I don't need things that are up by my neck or down to the wrist. Unless it's like, you know, a shawl or something. But even then, I don't wear it here. I wear it down here. Anyway, but when I was knitting the body, I knit to her length and then I stopped, you know, finished it and bound it off. And then the whole time I was knitting the sleeves, I kept thinking, this is going to be too short. This is not going to be long enough. But I kept saying, no, it's lace and it's superwash. It's going to be long enough. Just let it be. And I finally just knew if I got to the end and I blocked it and it wasn't long enough, I can always take out the binding and add more on. So I let it be. And I'm so glad I did because, of course, it grew like crazy. And it's actually maybe a tiny bit too, no, probably not too long. Probably just about right. It's really just lovely and drapey and so delicious. It's definitely my favorite. I've knit 4 sweaters for myself. And it's by far, I mean, I can just tell I'm going to wear it all the time. So by far my favorite. And I feel like the sleeves fit really nicely and turned out great.
That's a pretty color on you.
And I love it.
I like it.
It's a nice neutral.
It is a nice neutral.
To go with all my wardrobe. Anyway.
It is.
So I'm thrilled I finished it.
Good job, Emily. What did you do with your other sweater?
Oh, I have been on a finish it or frog it marathon. So this was finished. But my faded flax light is frogged, and I'm so happy. I finally just accepted that I was going to hate the neck shaping. It doesn't have neck shaping.
Yeah.
You know, and because it was a flax light, it just is high crew neck. And what was I just talking about? I don't like things up to here. So I wasn't going to enjoy it. And I love the yarns in it. And so I just decided I'd rather have the yarn. And so, we were gathered together for our dad's birthday. Yeah. And Deborah was there. And after most people left, we sat there together and she helped me to unravel a couple projects. And I've got 2 more at home that I'm going to be frogging. And then that will mean that I only have 3 things on the needles. So.
What else are you frogging?
I have a sweater. It's an Andy Satterlund sweater that I cast on for my daughter like 3 years ago. I mean, really ridiculous.
We talked about this on our first episode together.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Was I working on it then?
No, you were deciding whether you were going to frog it or not.
I probably had already been on the needles for some time by then. So it still has just been sitting in the bag. I've never done anything with it. And it kind of like, you stop seeing it because it's just always there. And I was kind of going through all my project bags because there was just a huge, ridiculous mess of project bags everywhere. Cleaning them out, you know, I don't know if you guys are like this, but often when I finish a project, the remnant of the yarn, the needles, the pattern, the stitch markers all stay in the bag because I'm working on something else and I just don't even think about it. And so every once in a while I'm like, where are all my needles? Where are all my scissors? You know, and I have to go through and clean out all my bags. So I was doing that and I came across it again and I was like, this is ridiculous. Come on. And the problem with it is I've already actually knit this sweater. It's the Mietta cardigan and I knit it for my daughter and it turned out great, but this was the second one I was doing and I didn't gauge swatch. And I assumed that I thought the yarn was the same weight as the yarn I had knit before, but it really wasn't. It was much lighter. They were both worsted, but you know what that's like. So anyway, it didn't fit her and I got the body finished, but hadn't done the sleeves or the trim, like the neckband and the front, and it very clearly was too small. And so I went back in the bag and it's been there for however long it's been, a couple years. So it's time for that one to get pulled out.
Sounds good. Yeah. You'll have to show us the other projects that you're frogging.
Yeah, I'll put them on Instagram. I know
is unraveling it. We'll do it here because it's fun.
Oh, yeah. And then the other one is that pair of socks I was knitting for my husband and then decided to knit for my son. And then I decided, no, I'm not knitting those for my son. Okay. So I'm knitting them for my husband. So now I need to pull them out and make it the right size.
Again.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I have 2 finished objects.
Yay!
Because I can knit. So, my first one is, well, yeah. I have kind of the same thing. I started back in October trying to finish everything. Like, rather than cast a million things on, I wanted to finish everything. I finished everything on my needles, except for my husband's socks, by the end of the year, this last December. And then in January I cast on like 4 more things because I finished like everything in that sock was like almost done, so I cast on some more things. So I felt really good about it. And then I was going through trying to find some of my needles, trying to find stuff,
so it's not just
and realized that 3 of my children all have multiple unfinished projects that they're not working on, and they don't want to do that. They don't want to do it. They, like my oldest daughter, she's like, it's fine to work on, but she has the same issue with her hands. She actually needs to go and have some work done on her hands too. But my youngest daughter has 2 unfinished projects. My middle daughter has 4. A 5th one that is all ready to go that she hasn't even started. And my oldest daughter has 2, I think. So I'm finishing everybody's projects.
Okay, there you go.
So the first one here is the Donlin hat by Becky Robbins. And here it is. Oh, I didn't bring over Jose, the mannequin head.
Oh, I had something I was going to bring too.
I love this hat. It is super squishy.
It looks super cozy.
When I picked it up, my daughter had knit this much of it, but it was taking up my cute bag that has some of my pins on it. It's just a simple canvas bag that I like because it's simple. She had my bag. She had 3 of my needles.
Oh my gosh.
So I wanted that back, so I got it back. So the yarn we used was Plymouth yarn Baby Alpaca.
Hand dye.
Yeah, it doesn't. It just has a color number 144, but it's kind of this.
Is it
brown
a
and tan? No, it's not a single ply.
Oh, okay.
But it has little colorful speckles of pink and blue in it, and some oranges here and there. You can't see it as much right here, but we added a pink pom-pom, and it's done. It's really squishy. I haven't blocked it because I don't want to block it. It won't be as squishy.
Yeah, there's no need to block that.
So it's just going to stay like this. But the inside is really cool. Well, minus this little tail. The inside is kind of a cool thing. You could wear it that way. I don't know. I like the texture of it.
That's fun.
So, 1 project done, and I have reclaimed some needles and a bag.
That's awesome.
Okay, do you have
That's my only finished object because that was a pretty significant one. This one. So everything else I have is works in progress.
Okay, I have 1 more finished object then.
All right.
Okay, I've been working on my Afterthought Everything socks using this yarn by Knit Song Yarns. It's called Telegraph Avenue. She actually posted some more in her Etsy shop.
I know, and it's so pretty.
It is so pretty. I love it. I have 49 grams of this left.
Ooh.
And I have a 20-gram mini.
Totally another pair of socks.
So I can knit more. I know, I can knit more. I love it. Okay, so the Afterthought Everything socks is where you knit just a long tube with a cuff on each end, and then you separate it in the middle, and then you add in your, separate it down the middle, split it, add toes on both of them, and then put your heels in. I thought they were fun, but after a while, when you have 27 inches of sock that you're twisting around, it's just like with the sleeve, it started to get finicky and kept twisting up, and so I don't know if I would do that again. I'd probably not, because it just got to be kind of annoying trying to manage the sock snake. That's what Amber Lindemann, yarn hoarder, she's calls it, and I think it's fun. So here's one of the socks. And I have it on a sock blocker here. So one sock looked to me like it was slightly pinker. Does it look like it to you?
Yeah, this one looks slightly pinker than that one.
It's just not that noticeable though.
No.
I just really like this yarn. So I did a regular wedge toe, and the mini that I used is Emily's Yarnbrary, and it's called the Red Room.
I know. I was just thinking about that.
It is actually, when I look at it, no, oh my word.
I didn't mean to do that.
It's the same. Well, it doesn't have the peachy
This has a little bit of
undertones.
yellow in it.
Yeah, this doesn't have the peachy undertones to it, but it's lovely, lovely.
I really didn't mean to do that.
Well, you're really good at accidents.
Apparently I like this color.
So this heel is an afterthought heel, and it is called the Thumb Joint Hat Top Heel by Lara Neel. You can find it in her sock architecture book, I believe, but it's also in her Fork in the Road socks on Ravelry, which is where I got it, and that's a free pattern on Ravelry. Now, this one, what's unique about it, it may look a little bit funny on the sock blocker, but it's actually a nice deep heel, and you can make it as deep as you want it. But it looks like a mini hat. Mm-hmm. And if you think about the shape of your heel, it's not a wedge. It's round. So it fits just so beautifully. I would try to raise my foot up, but we've seen how that goes to show what it looks like on my foot.
We want it to stay attached to your leg.
Yes. So that one is really, really simple to do. I actually have recorded a little video of me separating my sock snake into 2 socks, and so I will insert that right here. Hi, I thought you would like to see my Afterthought Everything socks. Look how long this thing is. It just seems to go forever. I have 2 pins here because I am ready now to separate this into 2 socks. It's this big massive thing. This is my cast on edge and this is my cast off edge. You can see the difference. This one's a little more ruffly. But I always find it fascinating to see how this is done. So I thought I would just share with you what I'm going to do. I have put stitch markers in on both sides of the sock. I've made sure to follow along the same row all the way across. My sock is 60 stitches, so I have put them 30 stitches apart so I can make sure to pick up the correct number of stitches. And I am using 2 circular needles. These are magic. I'm going to be knitting with magic loop, and these are Chiagu red lace. I'm using 2.25 millimeter and the 32 inches cord. This yarn, by the way, is gorgeous. This is Knit Song Yarns. Look how pretty that is. This one is called Telegraph Avenue. I love it. Okay, so this is what I am going to do. Hopefully you'll be able to see. I'm going to go and pick up the right leg of each stitch above my stitch marker and below my stitch marker. I will just show you one and then we'll skip ahead to having them both done. So I need to pick up the right leg, and it looks like I don't have the correct stitch here. If I pull this apart, I don't have this. I have this between 2 stitches. I'm going to have to start somewhere else. I'm going to have to start here. Because when I pull this apart, you can see my stitch actually, I don't know if you can, loops here, but loops right here, not this one. So I'm going to pick up this one, and I'm going to have to make sure I count 30. So there's the first one, and I'm going to pick up the right leg. So if this is a V, you see this V here, I'm going to pick up the right side of this one, and the right side of the next one, and the next one, and just keep going all the way down. Probably need one more. I'm going to count and see how many I have. 29. I need one more. That's what I thought. 30. Okay, so I have 30 stitches here, and I'm going to do the same thing below, and then I'm going to flip it around and do the other side of the sock. So I'm going to skip the row in between. I'm going to go, so skip this stitch. I have the stitch on the row above, skip this one, and go down below and pick up the right leg. Just keep on going. I don't want to split any of these stitches. I've got to be careful to pick up the whole thread. Okay, I have finished picking up 30 stitches on the row above, 30 stitches on the row before. I'm going to flip it around, but first I'm going to pull this through. I'm going to flip it around and pick up 30 stitches again on this side, the row above and the row below. Now you can see right here, I've already picked up from this stitch, so now I need to start right here. Okay, I've finished the top row. I'm going to go to the bottom needle. I'm going to find where I need to start again. I can see the stitch that I came out of. I need to start in the next one. And begin again. Go across, make sure I have 30 stitches so that I've picked up the right number. Okay, I have finished picking up 30 stitches above and 30 stitches below on both sides. And now the fun part. The fun part where we get to very carefully snip a thread and separate it into 2 socks. So I'm just going to go in. I could go anywhere. I could just start on a side maybe. Kind of make sure I get just one strand of my yarn that's between the 2. I'm gonna snip. You know, everybody's always scared of cutting. What's the worst that could happen? I have to weave back in the end or go down one row so I have enough yarn, or I mean there's all sorts of things that you could do if you made a mistake. It's not the end of the world. Get brave, give it a try. Okay, now I'm just going to start unzipping these 2. Just using a tapestry needle here. Okay, I have these separated. Okay, one thing that happened when I was doing this is that one sock had a really long tail. I was thinking I did it right. I messed up a bit. One had a really long tail and one had none. So what I ended up doing was I unpicked the other side of one needle and pulled out the yarn, and I have a tail now for both for weaving in. And I am ready to add in my toes, and then I can go and do my heel placement and add in the heel. And that's my second finished object. So if you're afraid of doing afterthought socks or anyways, it's just fun. It's fun to cut your knitting up. It is. People are afraid of it, but what's the worst that can happen?
I know.
It's like weave in the end and knit some more if you
right. Pick up stitches if you have to.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay, it's time to move on to
Works in progress. So I'm going to show this one off. It's coming along quite nicely. This is a sweater for my daughter, my oldest daughter. And it is called, hold on please, the French Toast Sweater by Alicia Plummer, or Alicia Plummer. This is my really crumply up pattern. this is the picture. And actually in this picture, you can't tell that it has sleeves. So I had a lot of people when I showed a picture of it thinking that it was a vest. It does have sleeves. It's got 3/4 length sleeves. You just can't see it in the photo. But it's really fun. It has this really, just a really bold cable down the front, nice scoop neck. And the cable is made up of slip stitches, which look quite lovely. Gives just a fun little texture in it. Anyway, so that's coming along quite well. I'm doing the hip shaping right now, so more than halfway down the body. It's really lovely working in worsted weight yarn sometimes, especially after creating something like this that's all fingering weight and ridiculous number of stitches. This I am knitting in, oh, and of course I don't, yes I do. I'm knitting in Lion Brand Yarns Touch of Alpaca. This is the yarn in the blush colorway. And it's fun because I just wound this ball on my thumb like that. Just around. And it was, I like how the fun ball turned out, center pull. This is my second one. Anyway, just a big fluffy, mostly acrylic, but with a little bit of alpaca in it. And I'll finish it just in time for it to no longer be cold. And then she can wear it next year. You know how that goes. But it's been a lot of fun. I put it to the side for a while so I could finish this one up. But then I've just pulled it back out. But I just love how it's turning out. And I'm actually thoroughly enjoying the knit. It's super simple, which I'm really loving. Nice. And it's nice, worsted weight yarn. So it just feels like it's going rather quickly, and that is enjoyable as well. So that's a lot of fun. It's just plugging along. But I like this, even though it's a simple knit, I like the neck shaping. You use short rows to make that nice neck shaping. I do like the waist shaping. It does have a nice hourglass.
Will you be picking up anything on the neck?
Yes, it does have a neckline trim that will go on, of course, around that. A ribbing that will go on around that. I just think even just how the increases
that looks really nice.
Look really lovely at the raglan increases, and anyway, it's just a really pretty.
Yeah, it is.
It's going to be a beautiful sweater. And this is my daughter Aria's, her favorite color. Just this really soft, kind of blush, pale pink color. It's her favorite color. She has a lot of things that go with this, so.
That's a good neutral for her.
Yes, it's a good neutral.
What's your neutral?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking everybody.
Good,
What's your neutral? Everybody has their favorite neutral.
I know, for most people.
If chartreuse is your neutral, then that's good. Or
a lot of people is gray, and I think gray is lovely, but just
I pretty much
is mine.
stick with black. Actually, I like color a lot, and I wear a lot of colors.
So you tend to wear bold pops of color.
Yeah. Or I'll wear black with really bright pants, or
sure,
or I'll wear a lot of really bright colors, but it will be solids, or I don't do a whole lot of mixing and matching of patterns and colors and stuff like that. So
you'll usually find me in jeans with some kind of loud top and a cardigan.
I didn't own jeans until I was in my mid-20s. When I was a kid, I had them, but I hated them. I hated how they felt when my knees were bent with the fabric bunched behind my knees.
That's because they didn't have stretch denim. Where was stretch denim all our lives? Seriously.
No, I wear jeans. It's okay. They're better,
Just remember, leggings aren't pants. Don't forget that part.
So now I wear jeans, but I remember when my husband and I were first married and we were going to go camping. He's like, "What are you going to wear?" And I mostly had dresses. And not just dresses, I wore, everything was a little bit more formal. That's just my personality. So I'm going to have to break down and buy jeans.
What am I going to do? That's so weird.
All right. Yeah. I have one work in progress in my hand here.
Yay. And it's so pretty.
I'm working on my cabled cowl. And last time I was about here, I have knit down and unknit and knit down and unknit and now knit down again because I was trying out different pattern adaptations and things and decided I was going to just keep it simple because that's what I like. We were just talking about that. Having this many cables is already max for the craziness for me. So I am 70% of the way through at least because I have used 70% of my yarn and I want this to be a single skein project. So you can't see because the stitches have bunched up now. It has increased from the top so that the circumference is wider at the bottom. So when I wear it, it will drape down a little bit more. So that's the exciting part. I just like doing cables. They're fun. And it's simple when you don't have too many stitches that you don't have to use a cable needle, so it goes pretty quick. I can just kind of slide my needle off the stitches and slide the other needle in through them, so it makes it pretty simple.
I just realized I made a big mistake and I'm putting this away until I can come back and fix it.
What'd you do?
Well, I did one row of my cable pattern incorrectly, so I need to go back and
start.
Just fix it, just that part. I just need to make a mess and then clean it up. Oh, I have to show you something fun. This bag, here, I'm going to take this.
Yeah, we showed this bag last time.
I showed this bag before. It's really cute, but I started putting a few of my pins on there. So I've got my yarn hoarder pin, and I've got my little llama, something from Disneyland, my Mickey and Minnie. And then I've got this one from Deborah that says, a little girl praying, saying, please kill my enemies. And then I got an Andre Sue Knits floral sheep pin. I want to make that rug that she has made so bad. And that's from Daisy Girl and Company, yes.
Oh,
anyway,
her rug's gorgeous.
But I couldn't afford the kit for the rug, so instead I got the pin.
Slightly more affordable. You can't have the rug, buy the pin.
You can walk on both, but one will cause more pain than the other. Sorry. I don't even know what to say about me today. Can I?
All right, I'm almost done with my first sock from my Christmas Eve cast on, and I don't even remember where I was last time. All I know, I think that I had got to right here. I think I had put the heel
I was
in.
wondering if you had.
I don't know. To me, that's a big deal to get all this knitting done.
Yeah, especially with your hands the way they've been.
I'm almost ready to... Actually, I think I'm just going to stick with the same yarn all the way through the toe.
Well, that'll be lovely.
So I don't think I'll put in a separate color for the toe. I'll just do the cuff and the heel. But I like this pattern of this sock. I've shown it before. It's called the Skedaddle sock by Lena Gjerald. And the pattern does call for you to... Well, let's see. First of all, this is the twisted stitch cuff from Emily's Candy Floss Socks pattern. And then the pattern, Skedaddle pattern, calls for this kind of cable to finish through down to the heel, but I didn't want to do that, so I just ended it here. So I kind of just took elements from different patterns and then put in my own heel.
We knitters are slightly rebellious, aren't we? Most of the time. We're kind of like, I didn't want to do that.
Well, once you learn how to knit a sock, then you just take different elements from whichever sock you like and plug it in where you want it, and then you're good. So the yarn is called All the Christmas Candy by Little Tailoress. It is got silver stellina. She sent me a mini with it. Actually, two minis. Sorry, these two minis with it. And I am going to really enjoy these socks.
You can almost get like a sugar rush just from knitting them because they're so sweet. I'm sorry, that was really punny. I actually just mean that they look like candy.
They look exactly like she said. They're really pretty. And I think, yes, it can be really Christmassy, but I just think they're so cute that I'd wear them anytime.
Absolutely.
They'd be good for Valentine's, like now.
They'd be good for Easter.
They'd be good for everything.
They're good for every day. Yep.
So I will finish those up next on my sock list. I have a whole bunch since I'm doing everybody's finished or unfinished projects, but
I've been very rebellious about socks. I brought this sock project, but I actually don't know if I've done much more since the last time I showed it. I basically put the toe in.
Good job.
So I may have already actually showed it like this.
So you just need to put, is that the second sock?
No, this is the first sock.
Oh, okay.
I brought it because I wanted to show that these are the only projects I have. Does that make sense? I only have these 3 projects that I'm going to show you. That is it. Of course, that will change very soon.
But you know what? It feels good when you start clearing off your needles.
Yeah.
Because then you feel like it's free to
start new projects.
Start new ones. Because I don't know about you. Like you
I totally
really want to start new ones. So you start them, but then you start to feel stressed because the other ones haven't finished and you're really excited about those. So then you lose steam on the previous projects you started. So I like to have multiple ones on the go so I can choose depending on what I'm doing, where I'm going to be, my attention span, or my mood, but not so many.
Well, and that's like why this is still part of everything, because I can just pick it up and work, I mean, I actually haven't cast on the second sock, but yes, I have. I lied. Look, there's a cuff.
Good job.
So I did cast on the second sock. So see, now I can just take this and it's a project to go whenever I need to just do something mindless. Because as you can see, doing this one, I didn't do that so well while I was sitting here talking. So, anyway.
Ooh, I have to show you, Emily. I have taken good notes for my cowl.
Very
really
lovely.
Good notes. So Emily's going to help me. She's going to help me be a grown-up and write down a
I've
pattern.
been helping you with that for a long time, and vice versa. Come on, Emily, be a grown-up.
All right, let's see.
What other projects do you have?
All of the works in progress of our knitting.
I have one more.
Oh, I thought that was it.
No, because I had this sweater of Aria's, which is big enough now that it doesn't want to fit in this bag. And my socks.
To the next.
And then I cast on this project because I really needed another baby knit. I like baby knits. I need baby knits. I need to make them. It's not that I have any need for the actual baby knit at this moment. I know I will, but I just need to make them. So this is the Alpha B Basic Baby Cardigan by Knit Pearl. And it's a very simple stockinette knit or cardigan pattern, but it's knit in pieces. And so I wanted to show what I have done so far. I am knitting this in Just Jane in one of my colorways, but this is the more purpley version. I had one batch that just had extra purple, and so I didn't want to just call it Just Jane.
So it's pretty.
Just Jane with more purple. I love it. It's gorgeous. Anyway, sorry, that was a little bit prideful, but it's so pretty. Okay. So this is where I am so far, and I've just pinned them together so you could see it. But I've knit the back and both the fronts. It's so teeny.
That's so cute.
But it's actually so, feel it. Just feel. Don't you want to cuddle a baby wearing that? I want to cuddle a baby wearing that.
It's so cute.
Anyway, so I've knit the back and both the fronts, and now I just need to knit the sleeves and seam it all together and put the trim on. But it's fun because knitting a piece of this, it's just this entire thing. I mean, that's how much of the skein I still have left.
Oh yeah.
That's more than half the skein still.
Gotta do sleeves.
Yeah, so I still need to do sleeves and trim. So I will definitely be more than 50% used. The pattern says that it calls for, it just says 1 skein. It doesn't give you actual yardage used. I will track that. But anyway, it's definitely a 1 skein project. But it's just so fun and teensy. And I've actually been knitting this on my Knitter's Pride Symphonies. And this is a US size 2 needle. And I don't usually like these. Wood is not usually my favorite. But in addition to that, the join on this is really not good. It's kind of grabby. However, these pieces are so tiny that I've almost not even had to deal with the join much. I mean, on the back, I probably got to here on my needle, but it wasn't too bad. And so these needles with this yarn at this size have been quite enjoyable, actually. I've really loved kind of the gentle quality of the wooden needle.
Sometimes knitting with wood is nice.
Yeah.
And I like what you're saying, the gentleness of it. I agree.
I feel like I'm speeding through it rather quickly too. I usually do really love a sharp metal needle, but I have a tendency when I knit really fast to start rubbing this part of my finger with the tip of my left needle as I'm working my stitches, and it'll get sore right there.
Yeah, I have the same thing. Yeah.
I haven't had any problems with that. It's just been very delightful. So I've just been zooming through. And honestly, if there was a needle like this that had a beautiful join, I would be all over that. Yeah. So share with me if you know one that's got this kind of a quality of the really polished wood, a good tip, because that's still a fairly pointy
that's a good
tip. But has a better join.
Yeah, on this one I've been using Addy Turbo Rockets, which that's what I used to buy all the time, and the joins make me crazy.
They do.
The join on this side is still not great. Yeah. This one is making me crazy. It's the only needle I had in this size.
That was why I started with that too.
So I'm using it, but it does make me crazy. But I have to say, after knitting with this, let's see, it's a size 10.5, 10.5 for my daughter's hat. I was knitting with this, and my hands would be tired, so then I'd go to this size, and this is a 3.75. Oh, this size though.
Yes.
I said it before, I feel like the 3mm to 4mm range is the perfect range for my hands ergonomically. They just, it feels delightful. Really nice. It feels, so this one I love to knit on because the size is just so nice on my hands. And Audrey from Knit Song Yarns, I knit a little song on Instagram. She has several different things. I knit a little song on Instagram, Knit Song Yarns on Etsy, and I don't remember her podcast, but it's similar to that. But she was talking about the same thing, exact same thing, that I think 3mm or 3.5 is the best on her hands.
Yeah, these needles, the US size 2 is a 2.75mm, and I feel the same way about that. It's just this lovely size. It's just such bigger than a sock needle, but smaller than you usually use for most sweaters. Yeah. It's just, it's very delightful.
So, if your hands hurt, try different sizes too.
Yes.
I also started learning Portuguese style knitting.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember, I'm sorry who it was, somebody that was commenting on YouTube about trying that for my hands. That one, if you're learning to knit, that would be a really good way to teach somebody to knit. I feel like that would be a lot easier because you don't have to deal with yarn management in your hands as well as holding the needles. It wraps around your neck. So you tension the yarn around your neck or a pin. And you still I still tension it in my hand and knit, and then you just flick the yarn with your thumb over the needle, and it's just really simple. But that didn't help my hands because I'm still doing the same movements. I'm just flicking here instead of here. But I feel like it's a really simple way, I think, to teach someone to knit because you don't have to manage as many things.
Sure.
So I started learning that. I liked it.
I've been watching, I signed up for Craftsy Unlimited, and so, I've been watching a whole bunch of Craftsy, doing a bunch of classes.
I love their classes.
I know, they're really great. And so one of them has been with, oh gracious, come on brain.
What is the class about?
It's different knitting styles and methods.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I don't know.
I can't read your mind this time.
Fantastic instructor. She was recently on Christy Glass's. I'm going to look it up because I have to tell you now. Anyway, she was on Christy Glass's channel recently getting interviewed, and I just thought she was so much fun. Patty Lyons. Oh my gosh.
Oh, okay.
Patty Lyons. Anyway, she's a fantastic teacher. But anyway, so I've been doing that class, and still don't like continental knitting. Still doesn't work in my hands. I'm really trying. But I mean, mostly I want to be a better continental knitter so that I can be better at Fair Isle by being able to manage the two yarns, like two different colors easily in my hands. But anyway, I'll get it eventually. But she does a thing on Portuguese knitting in that class
this
as well.
This sock, the Afterthought Everything, the tube, I did like 4 styles of knitting on this one.
Yeah, just to keep going.
English, continental, no, just 3 styles. Well, I did English, continental, I was throwing, and then I was doing Portuguese. That's what I was learning it on. And when I did continental, you could see a difference in the stitch, but all the others you couldn't see a difference in the stitch. Yeah,
you definitely tension differently that way.
So, yeah, my tensioning was the same everywhere else. But I've done continental quite a bit, just trying to give my hands a break.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not my favorite.
I think it's just funny. I think the way that you learn, it's just so much easier to stay in that.
Yep.
You know, maybe variations in that way. Like you learn different ways of tensioning your yarn or things like that. I mean, I started out as an English knitter, just throwing, picking up my yarn. I kind of pinched it and would throw it that way. But I found that it fatigued my shoulder a lot to have that much movement, especially if I was doing ribbing. So, you know, you would make your stitch, move your yarn, make your stitch, move your yarn, you know, constantly back and forth. And just having my arm do that all the time was really bothering my shoulder. And so I taught myself the pivot method, which I call flicking. And that saved it a lot.
Pivot, sorry, in that show.
I don't know. What is that show?
It's from Friends. It's Ross and Friends.
I should know that.
Sorry.
So anyway, alrighty. Well, that's our works in progress.
Okay.
So what's next?
I've got some embroidery and cross stitch.
Yay.
A little bit. I showed this one last time. I had done the heart in the center, and I finished this one.
So pretty.
And I've decided I'm going to make this into a little notions pouch. I like to just make different. I put it on there obviously a little bit crooked. I have to hold it like slightly crooked so that it's
okay. Let's just put our heads.
Everybody turn your head a little bit sideways. I'll have to trim that up so it's square. But I like to just make different pieces, and then I have a bin that I put it in and pull it out when I want something to embellish. But this one I know what it's going to be, and then it'll go in my gift drawer until I'm ready to give that.
So pretty.
And I just used Lazy Daisy stitch, satin stitch, and some French knots in that one. So it was pretty simple. And that was a pattern that I found on Pinterest. It wasn't, I couldn't find any designer. It was just on Flickr, and they did not have any, they didn't give it any, what is it, attribution, credit. Yeah, so I don't really know who to thank for that. But I decided, after seeing Kathy Goodman, she had talked a little bit about, told me she likes to cross stitch, and I was seeing Kimberly on Instagram, who was your swap partner.
Yeah.
She's
showing Kimberly and Lamb on Instagram.
She's been showing some of her cross stitch stuff, and I decided to be an adult and finally learn. It is, because when I was a teenager, I picked up one of those cross stitch kits, and I had to unpick it so many times, and I finally was so fed up. And it was like a beginner kit. What was the big deal? You have to count 1, 2, 3, make an X. Okay, sounds simple enough, but for my brain it was not working. So I threw the whole thing in the trash. I threw the pattern, the hoop, the needle, everything in the trash. And ever since then I've stayed away from cross stitch. But I decided to set myself up for success. Watch a whole bunch of YouTube videos on cross stitching. I've joined like 17 different FlossTube YouTube channels. Like, I really need that, because I've already got like 400 knitting podcasts. Last night my husband's like, "So what are you watching tonight? More knitting?" Yeah. Like, "Are you tired of it yet?" No.
Nope.
So, and then one of them suggested, drawing your grid on with this removable pen. And
like a fabric pen.
Yeah, a fabric pen. So I did that. And I did fantastic. Look, I did this.
Beautiful.
The pattern is from Mollie Makes Magazine. It was free online.
That's
and
so
it was called
pretty.
Rose Cross Stitch Pattern. I mean, they look the same.
Good
job.
job.
But I learned that, I didn't know this because I don't really use this pen much. You get this wet and it will disappear. But over years, the chemicals in it will cause a brown staining to appear on your fabric. I didn't know that. We've been marking quilts. Remember Aunt Susan? We've been marking quilts. That's what she would do to mark quilts for years with this. I had no idea. So I'm not going to be using that pen anymore to mark.
Now, is that true also if you're washing it? Because something like this is probably not going in the washing machine. But my quilts have, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. That was from... I just forgot. Sorry, I can't tell you who was telling me about this, but she does a lot of restoration for...
Was it Bonnie?
Vintage. Yeah, Bonnie.
City Home, Country Home.
Yep. So she was one that was telling me that. So I won't be marking with the water-soluble pencil anymore. But I have since purchased several cross-stitch patterns, and there's a lot of free ones online, and my oldest daughter has started cross-stitching, and she's almost done with beautiful flower.
Fun.
And my youngest daughter has started cross-stitching because, you know, we can never have too many hobbies.
Nope. There's no such thing.
Okay, I did some more embroidery.
Aww.
I did a towel, a tea towel, or a kitchen towel.
That's lovely.
I am embroidering towels to go in my motorhome.
Your glamper.
My glamper, because I don't want to feel like I am roughing it. So I'm going to have better than I have in my kitchen. All of my stained towels that are like rags. Instead, we're going to have embroidered towels that are so lovely that no one will want to use them.
My stained kitchen towels are ending up in the dye studio one by one.
Yeah. So I was using just towels that I purchased from Joann Fabric. I mean, you can get towels like this all over the place, but this is a vintage pattern that was in my grandmother Gray's stash, and when she passed away, she left all of her sewing things to Emily and I, and so we divvied things up, and I ended up with a lot of her embroidery patterns that you iron on. And so it looks like this. It's like pattern tissue paper, and you just put it on your fabric, no steam, and just press it onto your cloth, and it transfers the pattern to your cloth, and then you embroider over it. And then to remove it, you can wash it, and you can also leave it out in sunlight. This is what it says. We'll fade it. Our dad says he does not remember ever having a hand towel, a kitchen towel, or pillowcase that did not have embroidery on it.
I know.
Ever.
Well, when we were kids, we didn't even have pillowcases. I don't remember ever having a pillowcase that wasn't embroidered.
Really?
As a kid, yeah.
I don't remember our pillowcases, really.
That's just, I mean, that was normal. That's like just what you grew up with. Handmade quilts, embroidered pillowcases, handmade pajamas. I mean, that's just, you know.
Well, and the funny thing with these, I've had these for years. When did she pass away? It's been over 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was 2006. 2006. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So, and who knows how long she's had them in her stash also. But I didn't ever use them because I thought, well, I don't really want to have hand towels, you know, towels that have the day of the week on them because I don't do laundry often enough. And so I can't handle using a Thursday kitchen towel on a Wednesday.
Could you
and
just
what if there's no
put the Thursday?
Well, it finally occurred to me when I went to go into place that I could just cut that off and not add it on here. It took me over 10 years to decide that was a way to do it, because I was like, I don't want it to have the day of the week. What am I going to do? Don't put it on? Well,
brilliant.
I know, it's really...
You know what? That would totally be something I wouldn't think of. I mean, I think of it now just because you were saying it that way, but
I don't know what the deal was. Why did I think I could... Like, it has the day of the week. I don't want that. I could never use it. I'm going to have to find some without it. Or just cut it off and not use it. That's just brilliant. I wish somebody would have come up with something like that. I'm such a genius for coming up with these things.
It's so funny. The lighting keeps changing. The sun goes behind the clouds, and it's just like completely different lighting.
All right. So there's my embroidery.
It's lovely.
And cross stitch.
It's very delightful.
I'm having fun with cross stitching. This actually hurt my hands far worse. I was doing this when I couldn't raise my arm up because you just use shorter pieces, and I would just pull like this, and I didn't have to raise my arm up. But it was hurting my hands more. It was more, I don't know.
Interesting.
But I wasn't doing it in a hoop because it was a smaller piece, so I'll put it in a hoop, and that will probably help. So,
well, it's beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful.
Okay, we have a special segment to share with you today.
Clean up a little bit.
Yeah, I gotta rearrange because we have like 400 things out here. I always wondered when I'd see people podcasting.
You have 400 things out here because look.
Yours is all nice and it's usually the other way around.
I know, it totally
mine's
is.
all organized. When you podcast and you see people podcasting and they're holding things up and you think it's probably all just nice and tidy.
No.
It's chaos. There's
chaos
stuff
on the table.
Everywhere. Everywhere.
Sometimes on the floor because we drop stuff and we don't want to draw attention to it, so you just let it stay there.
So it's always trying to figure out what's the best way to organize it so that you can show things and reach it. I'm like, can I reach that? I don't know.
I know.
Okay. So we want to show you different heel constructions. So a lot of you knit socks, you'll know all about this. But there's people who may be new to knitting socks, and we're going to talk about that some more in a little bit. But you may be wondering what's the deal when somebody says, you know, here's my sock recipe, or different types of, they're talking about different heels, and you're like, what in the world does that mean even? We have not a comprehensive list.
By any means.
No. We just have a small selection because there are so many different options.
And our small selection consists of 9 different heels.
So we're going to show you these different heels, okay? And tell you a little bit about them. But we have different categories. We have heel flap and gusset, and we have short row heels, and we have afterthought heels. So I'm trying to put them together in our categories because I forgot to do that earlier. Okay, so let's start with our traditional heel flap and gusset. And let's show this one right here first.
Okay,
just
this one.
very simple.
All right, now I apologize because I wore these socks, so they're a little bit loosey-goosey right now. So if you look here, I want you to be able to see, here is the leg, and then here is the heel flap. So you stop here and you knit the heel flap down. Then you knit a turn right here using short rows to get this little curvy part. Pick up stitches and then start knitting again using decreases. And that's how you get this little V shape. And this one is done with no reinforcing to the heel.
It's just stockinette stitch.
It's just stockinette stitch. And so it's a very, these are really stretched out, very smooth heel right here. But this is probably the most common, not necessarily the non-slip stitch, but a heel flap turn and gusset is kind of the classic way of knitting a heel, and it's a very well-fitting heel for most people.
It's because it's so adjustable.
You
can adjust.
You can adjust by how long you knit the flap. You can adjust by how sharp you make your decreases, or how many decreases.
Determine how your fit is across here.
But it widens your sock is wider from here to here than it is up here or down here. And of course, so are our feet, you know, so it gives us a nice roomy area here. But it's very intimidating for a lot of people because it has 3 pieces. It has the flap, the turn, the picking up stitches, and gusset. So there's those 3.
That's the most complicated part, would say, if anything, that part of your sock.
Right. And
for new knitters.
For me, to do that flap, turn, and heel, flap, turn, and gusset takes about the same amount of time it takes for me to knit the entire rest of the foot, including the toe and the Kitchener stitch. So even though it's just a smaller portion here to here, it just takes more time because it's just a little bit more fiddly. But this is a very common, well-fitting heel, and there's lots of variations.
So one of the variations, which is probably the most common that you would see, is this, which is just a basic slip stitch pattern, and it's kind of like ribbing in slip stitches along here, which makes a thicker fabric, and it also kind of pulls it in a little bit so it fits really well. It kind of grips your toe because it's like a slip one, knit one, slip one, knit one, slip one, knit one, and then the next row on the wrong side you're just going to purl back, and so that one creates just these columns of slip stitches. And so it should wear a little bit longer. It shouldn't wear out as quickly. Though I would like to argue that up here is where mine wears more.
The back of where your shoe hits.
And
right
here. So sometimes I will start my slip stitches here and I will continue them down here sometimes.
Into your heel turn.
Which is what I did on this sock.
Obviously, by the way, we're showing a lot of, like this one isn't it all in the same color. This one, it's just decorative to add a contrast. So you could do this in the same color as well.
It's just for fun. Yeah. Just for fun. This one is another slip stitch pattern, but this one's called an Eye of Partridge heel pattern, where your slip stitches don't all line up. They stagger, which creates kind of this honeycomb or
like a honeycomb texture.
Kind of, yeah. And it may be kind of hard to see on the camera here, but the slip stitches alternate where they are. So those are all heel flap, turn, and gusset heels. I can't hold that, sorry. These three all have the same construction, just different type of, that one's stockinette. This one is slip stitch in columns, and this one is staggered slip stitch.
Yep. Okay. There's one other thing. In fact, I want to show you.
On the bottom, this one I did continue the slip stitches underneath. Did.
But here's one other thing I want to show. So I think right here, you did a tiny row of garter stitches, I believe, on the edge on each edge, which I frequently will do in order to make it easy to pick up the stitches later. Whereas this one was just knit and stockinette and didn't have that. So that's another. There's lots of different variations.
Okay, then we have Afterthought, or no, let's go to the short row heels. Those are all short rows. Okay, so traditional short rows, I actually don't have one that's just a plain regular traditional short row because I've given all those away. I have a German short row, and we have the Fish Lips Kiss heel. The Fish Lips Kiss heel is by, who's that?
Socks Therapist, SOX Therapist, and you can find the pattern. It's a paid-for pattern on Ravelry.
$1.
Yeah, it's not very expensive. It's also, just so you're aware, the Fish Lips Kiss pattern, it goes through like a whole thing about how to measure and construct your entire sock. So it's like you're getting more than just the heel pattern.
It's a booklet, and it overwhelms people because it has so much information. So if you are like, I'm lost, I don't know what to do, or it'll give you so much information. Or if you just want the heel,
you can just go to the heel. Yeah.
So these are short row heels. Instead of having a heel flap that is knit, then a heel turn and a gusset, instead you are shaping with short rows, and it's a little bit different fit. So
it's much more shallow this way, and it's not as wide from here to here.
Yes. So these you can get deeper heel, so it'll give you more stitches to go across your arch. This does not do that. So it depends on how your feet fit. I also want to show what
this looks like off the sock blocker.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see. You basically are creating a right angle between the leg and the foot. It's kind of a 90-degree turn that you're making there. Little wedge.
So these looked almost the same, the German short row and the Fish Lips Kiss. It's just a different type of short row, and a traditional short row is very, they're just very similar. The German short row, I didn't get this from a specific pattern. I just looked online for a tutorial, and that's how I did this one. I like the German short row because it is so simple. There's no picking up the wraps. There's no, it was just really simple that way. Yeah. Other than the fact that if you drop one, I cannot figure out how to fix that.
I haven't figured that out yet either.
So, but it typically will stretch across here if you have a very deep arch. And
it will be tight.
A lot of people. Yeah, it'll be
really tight. It will feel like it kind of stretch almost out of shape right in here.
So that's one type of short row. That's the most common short row, where you'll just have a line of short rows, like deep
You're basically creating a wedge, and then you're going back and kind of creating the other piece of that wedge. Yes. So it's like a mitered corner on each side.
So this one is a short row heel, but actually when I wear this, the line of stitches for the short row really lies almost along the bottom of my foot. So it has the look of a heel flap gusset, but it was really simple. This one fits really well. I don't feel that German short rows, the Fish Lips Kiss, the traditional short rows, I don't feel that fits my foot very well, and a lot of people will say that as well. This one is the heel that I used from sock called Lartha by Lara Smoot, and I didn't do the rest of the sock. I just took the heel construction. It looks, though I haven't knit before, it looks to me very similar to the Flegel heel, which is on my list to try. It has a very similar look to it. So that's another type of short row heel. And this is another short row heel. And this one was a tutorial I saw online, Cat Sweet Tomato heel.
Yeah.
And what it has is, instead of one row here down the center, it has 3 to give you more room in your heel. Can you see it? Let's see this side. Can you see it? There you go. You can see it better there. 3 here. There's smaller wedges, and it helped to turn it. I have to say I hated knitting this one. I did not enjoy it. It was really, really fiddly. And on my foot, it was too roomy and it slides all over the place. It does not stay in place very well, and because of that I get a lot of wear right here. And I'm always using the gleaner, and it's quite bare right here because of that, because it just slips and slides all over in my shoes. So that does not work for me.
But it might for you.
But it might for you if you need more space. This gives you a lot more space.
So if you have a wider ankle compared to your foot, maybe that, you know, you're going to want that.
All right, then we have our
afterthought
third
heels.
category that we're going to share.
So this is a really traditional afterthought heel. This was this was the first afterthought heel I ever did. It's a pretty gappy right here and right here, but these were the clean ones. So this heel is really interesting because basically you don't knit a heel at first. I've shown you on this sock how you can either do it the way that Deborah did on these, where you on her Telegraph Avenue socks, where you just go back and snip your yarn and unravel back to open up a space for your heel, or you can knit a scrap. So I knit one scrap of yarn into here and then just knit on top of it.
Can you see that pink line in there?
That pink line.
And that's where
I'll go back and just pull that whole pink yarn out and open up pick up the stitches on both sides, and then you kind of have now a hole where you can knit your socks. And then knit your heel. The way that I've knit this heel is almost identical to the way I knit my toe. It's actually the same exact shape as my toe.
Now this one's not quite as deep. Your heel is going to be slightly more deep, I think.
So I usually do 2 rounds of plain stockinette once I've picked up the stitches. And then I start my decreases. And I do it where I decrease every other row on either side of my center point on each side of the heel. So it's basically 2 decreases here and 2 decreases here every row until I've reduced it by half, and then decrease every row until I've reduced it by half again. And then Kitchener stitch, graft the opening closed. Yep. So exactly the same way that I knit my toe.
Hold that up, the heel. You can see those line of decreases. It's the same as this line of decreases. This is just not on an angle because of the way that the sock is opened up.
So in fact, yes, if I take this off, if I
hold it sideways,
went like this, here's my heel and here's my toe. And they look, I could even fold them up like this, they're the same.
Yep. So if you can do a toe, you can do an afterthought heel.
And actually, I mean, these actually to me fit the exact same way that a short row heel, the general short row.
Yes, it does. It has about the same fit.
The Fish Lips Kiss or the German short row. It's so simple to do it. And so it's, you know, to me, I'd rather do this than a short row heel because I don't have to think about it.
I agree.
There's no short rows. There's no picking up, wrapping, figuring out where it goes. And if I mess up, I can fix it really easily.
And then I showed you my Telegraph Avenue socks. I want to leave that off. Let's show the difference in the heel.
Sure.
So this is another afterthought heel, and I did a different heel. I told you about this was the thumb joint hat top heel where it looks like a mini hat, and this one looks like a toe.
Yep.
If you see, this one is more deep and it's more curved and it fits your heel really well. It's just a nice pocket for your heel. This one, though, I cut in the yarn, and I followed the Kirby Werby tutorial for doing that. And one thing that was great about it is when she unpicks her yarn, this is where I don't put in a waste yarn to pull out. You snip your thread, unravel, because it doesn't give you a row of stitching that it's not as gappy. I have no gaps at all in my corners. No gaps at all, especially with the Kirby Werby tutorial, where they leave 2 stitches that you don't unravel. And then as you go around and knit, it helps keep that pulled tight. And then you can unpick that and weave the ends in at the end. But this fits really well on my heel. It gives me more room across the arch. And so that's just another afterthought heel that you can do. So that was 3 different types of...
3 different categories.
Categories of heels. And if you're still with us, bravo. And if you've knit a million of these and you say, oh, there's about 400 more. Yes,
there totally are. There's
and it's fun.
So many.
It's really fun once you start knitting socks to try different heels, cuffs, and toes. I really like to do that. Yeah. I just think that's kind of fun to try them out. I primarily knit heel flat, heel turn, and gussets. That's my favorite to do. That's primarily what I do.
I primarily do that, and then occasionally an afterthought heel if I really feel like I don't want to interrupt, like self-striping or something like that, where I don't want to interrupt the stripes in the pattern and I just want to keep those really clean, then I will tend to do an afterthought heel like I am in these socks here. Just because, I don't want to mess with those pretty stripes. That's too fun.
So if you have not knit socks, or you're still really new to knitting socks and you want a little bit more help or encouragement or just motivation, then you need to join us for our first time sock knit along.
Yep.
First timer. It's going to be my first sock cowl. My first socks cowl.
Yep.
My first socks cowl. We are going to be doing a series of live videos. We have not done this before, so we're saying we're doing it, praying that it will work.
It's our first time. Your first socks, our first live videos. It's all good.
So yeah, we're all trying something new. We are telling you this now so that you will have about a week and a half, about 2 weeks? 2 weeks?
2 weeks
2
from today.
weeks to knit a swatch, get your supplies. What you want to do is you want to knit it, you want to get some fingering weight sock yarn. You want it to have some nylon content in it so that it wears a little bit longer.
Nice and strong,
it's stronger. You don't have to, but you would be sad probably if you didn't. I would not be doing cashmeres.
Not for your first.
No, just start with, we want you to start with some basics. What we're going to do for construction is we are going to be doing a basic top down, so from cuff down to your toe, basic ribbed. This one is not, this one has a little twisted stitch.
We're just going to do a 2x2 rib.
2x2 rib. Stockinette leg. We're going to be doing the basic slip stitch heel turn and gusset, and a wedge toe and Kitchener stitch on the end. That's what we're going to be showing in our videos. So you want to get needles. We both use a 2.25 millimeter.
Yes, that gives us needle. About 8 stitches per inch.
8 stitches across. I'm not worried about the depth. I'm just worried about how far across per inch, how wide. And you want to get that gauge. So you want to get needles that will give you that gauge. Emily is going to be showing you how to knit on DPNs. So if you are a DPN knitter, then she's going to brush up her skills on that, because it's been a little bit of time since I've done DPN. Because we both like to do magic loop now, and I'm going to be showing you magic loop. So we are going to start on February 28th at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on YouTube. It will be a live video. In Ravelry, in our Meanwhile at the Castle Ravelry group, we will put a schedule on there of when we are going to have our own videos, because what we're going to do is we're going to start together, and we are going to do 5 videos. Our first video we're going to do together. That's going to include our cast on and our cuff, and then just what to do for your leg.
Your instructions for your leg, which are very simple.
And then we're going to divide after that, and we're going to do our videos at separate times, because that will help you if you want to knit on DPNs with Emily, or you want to knit magic loop with me, or get 2 sets of instructions, because she might
or for people who are in different time zones.
Yep, she may do things a little differently if you need something earlier in the day, in the evening, whenever. Emily will have her schedule after that. I will have my own schedule.
And we'll post those in the Ravelry group.
Yes. After that, then our next one will include the heel flap, and then after that it will be the heel turn and gusset. The next one will be on fitting for your foot, like
Knowing
how long to knit this, as well as your toe decreases. And the very last one will be Kitchener stitch and showing off your socks. So
that'll be so fun.
So we want you to try. If you're afraid to do it, this is the time to do it, because you will have a chance to ask questions live. We have to say, we do not proclaim to be experts. We have knit a handful of socks on our own.
So pretty good handful.
It does not make us experts in the subject. It's just how we do things.
Right.
So you may know an expert in the field, or you may be an expert in the field, so you go do those videos. But we're going to do ours, and we'll just do our best to answer questions according to what it is that we do and what we know. And if you want to learn knitting the basics of that, then once you've knit a pair of socks, it is so much easier to go and learn toe up, to try different constructions, to adjust your fit, all of those things. It's just taking the plunge and knitting your first pair.
One other thing I'd like to mention is, not only should you know should have your yarn and your needles, but you should also know your measurements for how high you want your sock to be on your leg, the circumference at the widest point of your leg in that height, and the length from your heel to your toe on the bottom of your foot. You're going to need to know those measurements to figure out how many stitches and how many rows that you'll need, and we'll help you figure that out too.
Yeah, we will put on our website, I will put a little diagram of those things.
Great.
So that you can see what measurements that you need for that. So we'd love for you to join us.
Here's one more thing too.
What?
If you are interested, I will be offering actually a discount, so you can get your sock yarn for this knit along. We will post what that discount coupon code is right here, and you can hop over to Yarnbrary Yarns and get your yarn for your socks.
Yay! Because you've got beautiful yarn. So we hope that you're going to join us. Share on Instagram. We will have a little image that you can pass along, you can share, so that lots of people will join and have a chance to knit their first socks, because we want to convert everybody to being a sock knitter.
Because once you knit socks, you'll never go back to not knitting them. They're just too much fun.
Yeah.
They are.
And when I wear commercially made socks,
you still do that?
I don't have enough socks to wear only my hand knit socks.
I do, because I don't wear socks enough.
Well, I wear socks
every
day. Even in the summertime, I just wear like little shorty socks. I love to wear socks. So I always feel like they're just kind of,
they're just not the
they're
same.
subpar.
They
to
are.
Say the
they
least.
really are.
Even nice ones.
They really are.
Okay, so that's going to be a lot of fun. We are going to be starting that February 28th, so make sure to join us for that.
And that's I don't know if we said 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Yes. Okay, sorry. I didn't remember we had said that on February 28th.
So if you have any questions, you can ask us down below if you're unsure about that, as well as go into our Ravelry group. I have been much better about
Deborah has been much better.
I've been in there like every other day.
Bad.
I'm really proud of myself.
That's good. I've never been good at forums. So I'll be honest, if you want to talk to me directly, you can send me a message. I'll totally get it.
Instagram is definitely...
But Instagram is where I am. It seems like I can only manage one platform at a time.
Yeah. So you can ask down below in the comment section, send us messages on Instagram, which I am Indigo Chicken Dolls. Your Salt City Knits. Okay, I think that's all on that. So we have some shop announcements.
Yay! So I am super excited. I am starting a new line Yarnbrary line. I'm going to be continuing, of course, having my book collections, but I also wanted to have a range of semi-solids that you could have at any time. So you could, they'll always be available. Well, most likely that you can order if you want to do different projects that are going to take larger quantities, or to mix and match with other yarns. So I have the first 4 of my authors colorway, and these authors are going to be always in the shop for you to order. So my first one I have to show, and I've also added a new base. So this is my classic sock, and this is classic DK, and this colorway is C.S. Lewis.
Oh.
So I know, just all the love, so much love.
C.S. Lewis.
So kind of a royal purple.
What's the fiber content of both of
these? These are both 75-25. Like I said, that's my classic base. So classic sock is 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. So you can actually use these to make DK weight socks too, as well as sweaters and so on. All right, so I'm gonna save this. I love this color so much.
That is a me color for sure.
I know. I thought of you when I was making this one. This color is Charles Dickens. And this gorgeous wine color. Again, this is the sock and the DK. I'm showing you one of each. This colorway, this is Louisa May Alcott. I don't know if it's actually showing up. It's a very pale pinky lavender color. Very soft. Pretty. It's a little washed out as far as what I'm seeing in the screen. It's definitely got more color than that, but
still very soft.
Very, very, very soft. Anyway, Louisa May Alcott. And of course, one of my favorite colors has to be named for my favorite author. This is Jane Austen. It's got a little bit of Elizabeth Bennet in it, I think. Some vibrant but feminine, pretty, read kind of a Tiffany blue almost.
Love it.
So those are 4 of the colorways. I am going to start with 8 different author colorways, and I will be posting these on Instagram as well. And then I will be adding from there because that will be all great. But I'm kind of thinking that I might need to do, I want to make a comfort fade cardigan.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a DK weight. And I'm kind of thinking that I might do it in these 3 colors.
Oh, that would look really nice. That would look really nice.
Isn't that pretty?
What I like with these types of yarns, though, is that if you want to do anything patterned, this is the type of yarn to use because it will show up. When you're using all of your variegated and speckles, you lose the pattern a lot.
But you still have the beautiful tonal quality.
Love it.
Oh, I just love this.
Ooh, this one is so squishy.
I know, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I like
this DK base is so yummy. And I found a worsted base. Okay. I'm not going to name any names, but I have had a favorite worsted yarn that I've talked about before. And I think I may have found a base that is just as yummy and squishy as that one that I will be dyeing up to test and see if... Can't wait. But anyway, just look how pretty those are.
Yeah, those are pretty together.
So anyway, I'm super thrilled. These are going to be, all of these, my original authors colorways will be available in Saturday's shop update, along with Secret Garden colorways will still be available as well. But I will have to dye and ship like mad before Stitches West.
I know. So if you want yarn from Emily for our knit along.
Yes, I will actually only be open Saturday and Sunday for orders.
So order that this week so she can get it to you in time.
Just because I want to make sure that I can get it out before we go out of town.
Yes, that's a lot happening.
I know. Okay. And especially with, I'm probably going to have a hole in my ceiling. It's right above my sink, like right there.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like a shower, Emily.
Right. I can, not that kind of shower water. Used shower water.
Okay. Terrible. Okay.
Not good. Okay.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us for another episode, and we look forward to joining us with our knit along. And come see us at Stitches West.
See you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.